that Chinese Taipei had as long as that point was ticking.
Yeah, that's right. We know how good he is on that, Anna, and it really did show. And, you know, Tyrong, despite not being, you know, maybe a top-level pro in the game, certainly playing that Lucio well enough to help carry them as well. So looks like we're going to have a little bit of a conversation with Zonda, see what he has to say about their upcoming matches.
我叫吕仲达，我的游戏 ID 叫做中大，然后我在游戏里面的位置是输出手。我有很多现场和线下经验，所以这种比赛我是不会太紧张。我的游戏风格是比较激进、比较偏侵略型的，然后比较喜欢做出那种一杀多的操作，然后有很多很厉害的选手会想要去超越。
All right, well, Zonda certainly instrumental in helping Chinese Taipei at least look competitive there on Temple of Anubis. And, you know, if they're going to have a chance to tie up this series as we go towards Eichenwald, it's going to definitely be on his shoulders, I think.
Yeah, I do think we saw some good stuff there from Chinese Taipei. I'm glad that we saw more depth in their team composition than we did in their match yesterday versus Finland, with Zonda really showing off his hero pool, bringing out the McCree, bringing out the Roadhog. But some of their coordination, I think, needs a little bit of work. We didn't see the most efficient use of ultimates.
Yeah. And it seemed like, too, at times they just weren't ready for the aggression that South Korea was going to bring, especially when they were, when South Korea was defending Point B on the last map. And, yeah, they did go a little bit too far, but, man, Chinese Taipei had trouble even getting set up to push in the first place.
I think why it's so fun to watch Miro on that Winston is because he knows his limits so well. He knows when he can select a target and go in, pick that target off, and then escape back with another jump towards his team. And we really saw it when we were watching from his perspective, his skill on Winston, his ability to place the barrier perfectly to ignore all damage, to play with that wall.
And check this out.
Okay.
All right, it's a real strategy then. Maybe Tyrong was serious, because they are actually going with the same thing they used against Australia, the Torbjorn, the Symmetra. You know, I talked to Tyrong a lot yesterday, and he really believes in this, and I was convinced he was trolling me, because, I mean, look at this comp. How can you look at this comp and not think you're being trolled? But they're running against Chinese Taipei here, so we'll see if it works out.
Yeah, same setup, same placement for the Torbjorn turret.
Although they aren't running the Junkrat this time. That is a big difference, and I think that does make a big difference in terms of the amount of zone control you get out of this defense. So I wonder if that's going to have an impact and how well this is going to work or not.
I think that they may be anticipating a Tracer, in which case the McCree is a lot better. And there's Miro going to get stunned immediately.
Sleep dart immediately. Wasn't expecting Eddie Boss to come in from behind with that Anna, and they're going to lose their tank.
I mean,
right
he was
on
a really cheesy flank there, Doa.
I agree, yeah.
So he was trying to get an instant kill, but got found out. And but that is a huge number of kills as they walk through the Symmetra turrets.
Man, I was going to say, they just walked into the meat grinder there, and Eska popping off the headshots to finish a lot of the members of Chinese Taipei. That was brutal, and look at that right off the bat. Tyrong getting so much charge, he can put down the teleporter right away.
Okay, well,
that's big.
They certainly were not ready for that. They caught the Reinhardt out on the flank too far forward. Of course, Miro would normally be standing in the position he is now, or up on top of the bridge, not in a building, trying to hide. But
I don't know what that was, but he was just a distraction. He was just there to make the Chinese Taipei team seem overconfident, I guess.
Here's the thing, is that even though he died, what happened next was, because he died, basically Chinese Taipei as a team charged forward because they thought they had a 6v5, and they walked into all of the Symmetra turrets. So maybe it was a bait, Doa. Maybe it was a
part of the plan. I wouldn't put it past him, you know, as we see in the lower right, Chinese Taipei trying to set back up again on the main screen. Of course, South Korea with that defense. Eska sitting behind that Reinhardt shield, poking away at Baby Nai's position. And here comes the Dragon Strike, not catching anybody, though. Chinese Taipei just trying to clear room to go through. Eska coming from behind, though, with that Deadeye, not finding anybody quite yet with it, though. And kills coming in on both sides. They've lost Sumba, they lost Tyrong, and that Symmetra. Oh, nice flashbang in the end for the trade on the Hanzo. And Miro taken out. Looks like this might be Chinese Taipei's opportunity here. Graviton Surge comes in, no real follow-up. And the teleporter lives. That could be big.
That's the thing, is the teleporter's still alive, Doa, so they're just going to file back in as quick can be here.
Wow. All right, I'm a believer. You know, I love Symmetra just because I think she's fun to play, but I'm starting to believe in this. South Korea is really making the Symmetra work, man.
Are you starting to believe in the nano-boosted Symmetra? That's going to be the real question.
You know, I don't know if you want to do that in this situation.
No, you don't. You use it for Genji, right? So he can't reflect. But here's one thing that Arhan, if he actually gets... Okay, we'll wait for a second as they break it down.
Now they're going to try to get that combo with the Dragon Strike. Don't get anyone with it again. That's 2 Dragon Strikes with Zonda, but no kills. Lazy Titan does manage to pick up the turret, though, that Arhan put down. Miro, though, with the return kill on that Zarya. Zonda sneaking around the outside, maybe trying to get a bit of time on the point as it is, but no.
I think he's looking for the teleporter right now.
Yeah, he's got to be. Yep. But it's a good hiding place. It's actually right next to the point. There it is, just got used. They actually got full use of that. Oh, but he picks off Arhan right away on that
nice shot.
Zonda. Yeah, with one on Tyrong as well. But now here's, I think, where you may be considered switching off of the Symmetra. You've lost that teleporter. You've only got 9% ult charge to bring it back up again. Yeah, right back to the Lucio. I think that's what you got to do now.
I think that's absolutely true, Doa, particularly because there's only 45 seconds left. So get the Lucio in, try and build up your sound barrier so you can contest during overtime.
This is tense, though. Earthshatter comes in. Arhan setting up the turret, trying to bring it up to level 2. Oh, but he gets slapped right before he can use his ultimate. That could be big. And Chinese Taipei coming in with a lot of kills here. I think South Korea is going to have to give up this payload.
He's going to try and get that Molten Core in Doa, but he will fall in the end. And that was one of those times where you actually want to preemptively Molten Core just so you can build the turret up faster. So I think that's a bit of a mistake there from Arhan on the Torbjorn. It will allow the point capture by Chinese Taipei. And then we're going to see the switch over to the Genji. So nice final push there. Zonda having a big part of that, getting some crucial pickoffs.
You know, it was so close. They brought that down to about 30 seconds until the match would have been over. So, you know, even though they didn't hold all the way, it still worked quite nicely. Lazy Titan comes in. He gets caught in the Tobalstein over from South Korea. That Graviton Surge bringing in a couple kills, but the kills come in for Chinese Taipei with the return Graviton Surge from the other side, and they're going to keep that payload going.
Well, they had just swapped up, so they didn't have really any ult economy, Korea, and Arhan got stuck in that Graviton Surge and then frozen by Danny. So easy pickoff onto the Genji. That's going to buy them quite a bit of leeway here to push the payload forward, and we're going to see a high ground push coming up here from Korea. They're going to try and drop down and defend. Eska looking for the flank Deadeye.
I think he's looking for the jump down from behind type of Deadeye. I like the change from Zonda over to the McCree. He noticed the Genji, immediately went from the Tracer to the McCree to try to have that flashbang available. And we'll see how South Korea defends here on the bridge here. Eska going down, though. Zonda coming in from behind. And now they know that McCree's up for Chinese Taipei. Sound barrier used on the red team side. Sound barrier now coming in for South Korea as they try to defend, but they've lost a lot of people already. Danny's been pretty effective here on this Mei as well. Just getting the walls in and preventing the damage from coming towards his team, and they're almost all the way through point B.
Yeah, Eska was really trying to find the Ana there so that he could shut down the nano boost, but instead, good communication from Chinese Taipei. They call out to his position to Zonda. Zonda just comes up and gets the 1v1 flank, so it really eliminates a lot of the damage coming in from Korea. There's got to be an attempt here on this point to actually hold before point number 2. Now, this is incredibly risky to do on Eichenwald.
Well, they hold. They managed to get it for the moment, and there's only 45 seconds left. And you're right. It is super risky, but they've got a chance.
It makes me so nervous whenever I see that, Doa, because when you commit a lot to that defense, if you fail, you can push through the most difficult part of this map as an offense. So you're basically hamstringing yourself if you fail as a defense, if you're trying to contest right at the end of point number 2. Ends up working out, and now Arhan just skirmishing on the outside, and he does not reflect.
Whoa, all right, but time to fly. Eska with the Deadeye now, and we'll see if he can pick anything up. Oh, he does get Eddie Boss. Actually, I believe he got 2 at that before the Sleep Dart came in. I think that was a bit brave of Eddie Boss to try to go for that while the Deadeye was channeling. Meanwhile, Lazy Titan taken down. Graviton Surge comes in. South Korea, they may be able to defend it. There's the overtime. I think they've got it. South Korea, oh wow, actually Zonda switching back over to the Tracer. Can he keep it going long enough for his team to get there? They're all streaming in. There's Danny, throws down the wall, gets a bit low on the outside, and he's going to stay alive with the ice block. They're really kind of coming in one by one, but overtime is still ticking. There's the Earthshatter. And I don't think that's going to be enough. Overtime's going to go away faster and faster here. There's the Graviton Surge yet again just to take out the opposing Zarya. A punch to the face of Eddie Boss, and that will be it. South Korea will limit Chinese Taipei to just 1 point here on Eichenwald.
Yeah. Well, great hold at the end. Again, a bit risky. That could have been, if South Korea had messed up on the defense, it could have been a straight push through to the third point for Chinese Taipei.
Yeah.
But as it is, it's relatively easy to push through point number 2 is offense, so South Korea has a lot to work with here. They pull out the Symmetra again, they pull out the Torbjorn again. Just barely can't hold that first point, and Chinese Taipei manages to get a good push all the way nearly to point number 2 after that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing what we expected out of this match, right? As we take a look at some of Eska's stats on McCree here, really playing an awesome McCree as usual, no surprise there. But we expected South Korea to come into this with an edge, but we also expected Chinese Taipei to at least give South Korea a bit of a challenge, and they certainly are doing that so far.
Yeah, that's certainly the expectation as we head into the other side of Aishenwald now. So South Korea going to be running with Arhan on the Genji potentially, and nothing too surprising coming out of Chinese Taipei, going a little bit tank heavy, triple tank. But when you have that first point defense, if you can hold the archway with the Reinhardt and the Mei, you can just force them into some smaller chokes to come through around the sides.
Yeah. Well, looks like Chinese Taipei setting up with a triple tank defense again. No reliance on the Roadhog this time, though, as they are going with Zarya Winston and the Reinhardt. But we'll see. I'm curious to see if Zunba is going to stick on that Widowmaker. Right?
He's going to play Zarya.
Yeah.
He will most likely play Zarya right here.
You never know. I mean, you can maybe do a surprise Widowmaker on this map and try to just walk in behind the Reinhardt. Nope, there's a Zarya switch. Well, a man can dream.
I just don't think the sight lines are really there for a Widowmaker on this first point. When you have so many flanking options, having very rapid backline flankers like Tracer and Genji typically are better for this first point.
Yeah. All right, here we go. South Korea trying to push forward. Zonda up on the high ground there. Eska just firing some bullets and take down that shield quickly. And Chinese Taipei just doing everything they can to delay this push from South Korea. As they come through, nice kill onto Lazy Titan. Eska already doing work. They've got a couple, and they are just going to bulldoze their way forward. Zunba with 2 on that Zarya already. Danny on his own in the back. Everybody just getting forced right out of the area, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty quick point A take for South Korea.
Chinese Taipei doesn't really have an answer to Eska's McCree. There wasn't really any hero that they were using that could actually get damage back onto him. So it's a bit of a shooting gallery for Eska right there.
Yeah.
They just waited for the Mei wall cooldown to be down, and the tanks opened up, played very aggressively in the front, so Eska had a huge amount of room to move. Now we're seeing Zonda switch over to the McCree, and we will see those McCree on McCree duels again, trying to control the high ground, at least for now.
Yep. Generally what you have to do is the defense on this map, but it's tough against a Genji like Arhan. I hear a nano boost being used somewhere. Chinese Taipei trying to give themselves some sort of advantage. They go ahead and put it down on the Baby now as he goes in with the Reinhardt. Arhan biding his time though. He's got that Dragon Blade ready, and now he's going to go after it. With the flashbangs right there. Oh, that was so close, man. He's a little bit lucky that he didn't die to the fan, the hammer. Meanwhile, the rest of his team pushing that payload forward. Danny forced to ice block there as he backs off under the bridge already. So Chinese Taipei did okay on offense, but they are giving ground very quickly on the defense.
Even though that push was successful, Doa, I do question that Dragon Blade usage just a little bit onto Zonda. He wasn't close to getting the Deadeye up. Also, Arhan known for his Genji play, but I feel like his reflex today have been really off when we've been watching him in the first person. He's just not playing the mind games properly, and his reflexes aren't there to block some crucial abilities.
That's a bit awkward. They're going to drop the Gravitron Surge on the outside, though. Eska grabs a couple with his own Deadeye, and South Korea, you know, awkward Genji play or not, they are certainly having no trouble at all bulldozing their way through Chinese Taipei, and they are almost done with this map and this series. If they can push it to that yellow square, that's going to be a 2-0. Esko's got the nano boost now, gets the headshots onto Lazy Titan, has to worry about this Ana now. I don't think it's going to be a big problem. There's the kill for Zunba again, and Chinese Taipei with a bit of desperation as they try to stop South Korea from getting that last tiny bit, but they can't do it. And South Korea grabs the 2-0. And, you know, I mean, that's what we expected. Chinese Taipei certainly putting up a bit of a fight, giving them a bit of a challenge, but in the end, not seemingly able to stop Korea too much.
No, they weren't, Doa. And we end that match with 60 kills for Korea, 30 kills for the side of Chinese Taipei. So a closer match certainly than yesterday. the shutdowns with the Symmetra, or the full hold with the Symmetra and the Torbjorn. We saw yesterday
It almost
not
happened
able,
today too.
Yeah, almost, but not quite able to be duplicated this time around. That first push by Chinese Taipei and Eichenwald was pretty funny. I'm not sure.
You know,
that Reinhardt positioning was.
he was bait. He was bait. I'm going to ask Tyrong about this after the match.
Tyrong is going to tell you.
He's going to tell me, he's like, well, we just wanted Miro to stand there and get killed. Yeah, that's what we wanted all along. Yeah. Well, so on that note, let's send it over to the desk to see what they've got to say about South Korea's victory over Chinese Taipei.
Thank you so much, Doa and Monty. Great job casting that match because that was so much fun to watch. Man, Chinese Taipei is actually a really amazing team.
Yeah, and unfortunately for them, they're in a group with South Korea and Finland. That's just the downside of it. Because honestly, I think if you'd have put Chinese Taipei in any other group, they would have put a strong challenge on top in it.
Yeah, and the fact that we only get to see one more game from these guys, and it's pretty much sealed that you're not going to get out this group, for me, it's just devastating. Because, yeah, like you said, in any other group, they could literally top the group.
Yeah.
I really would put them above a lot of the Western teams here. Maybe not your Swedens and co, but we saw some really good play from them. But unfortunately, Korea were able to shrug it off and even still go back to some of those strats that we thought were, trolling or just having fun, but actually on a match like Eichenwald, it seemed to work out fairly well for them.
I think one of the quotes from Chinese Taipei we got when we spoke to them was, we'd like to compete in the playoffs at BlizzCon, but our group sucks.
Yeah, they knew from the beginning
maybe.
how tough it was going to be. And they really, they didn't cave at all. They really brought some creative strategies here. But let's talk first about South Korea, what they did to stop this team. They had some really creative holds on Anubis, and I know this was something that I was so happy to see with Bastion.
Yeah, I mean, they played the Bastion there on Anubis, and what they wanted to do, essentially, we saw where Arham was positioned up on high. They were hoping that there would be a hard engaged dive comp coming out from Chinese Taipei that would try and jump on that middle point. But Chinese Taipei instead came in with like a McCree Roadhog combo, which is a little bit different. It's more about picking someone off the high ground and actually pulling them down, and then you have the man advantage.
Yeah.
You can try and exacerbate that a little bit more. But then Arham just goes, all right, then I'm just going to change up my positioning a little bit more. And we're still able to have, in my opinion, quite a significant impact, even if they ultimately did lose the point. Like I said, in Korea, it's quite common to see teams invest a lot of time in preparing a strong first point hold, and I think we saw a bit of that there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think the biggest distracting factor was they went in, as you do with the Bastion, you got to focus every attention on him. It just gave everybody else free time to just get the damage down, and that's what gave them the struggle, and it took them, 3 minutes full to get that first point down, and then just sadly fell short on finishing the map. They came very close. It was just a tiny little fraction to close
it's so
out the
hard
map.
playing with South Korea. I have a replay on that, actually, where you can see South Korea and how it's just so hard to tackle this second point on Anubis. With Miro on that Winston. South Korea, there's just such an aggressive team. And we see that in the replay I got here, that Winston just drops down from the high ground basically, and all the time just early engages. And it's just so hard to get in a position where you can make something happen.
We saw it constantly. He was obviously he was sitting on the top perch, which we saw with the replay with Winghaven earlier on, obviously when he got aggressive with the counter side, and he was constantly going down, and he had the support of his teammates as well. He would go down, just put a little bit of damage, and because he's only dropping, he's got the jump free, so he can just drop down, put a bit of punishment, jump back up to his perch, and thank you very much. He sits there as a happy monkey in the air.
Yep. Certainly a special style to see from a Winston player. So if we could take a look at that replay actually on Miro on that Winston when he's on the high ground, maybe.
Yeah, we've got that replay queued up
here.
here.
We go. And you just see him dropping down here. It's just having fun in the back line, and it's just Chinese Taipei, they're not in a position to actually do something here. They just have to defend themselves all the time, and they have no position. They have to fight in these close quarters, and it's just so hard to deal with this. You can never get in a position to where you can deal with this Miro. Like he's just killing people, and there's nothing to be done about it.
And what's most important, we talk about this a little bit there as well. Notice that Miro drops down.
Yeah.
Keeps an eye on his cooldown, does as much damage as maybe he's able to do, and then heads back up top. And then the next time he jumps down and he realizes that, wait a minute, I'm not actually being threatened here, or at least Chinese Taipei seem to be in disarray or not able to deal with me. So I'm going to stay, I'm going to overstay my welcome a little bit longer. I'm going to continue to apply pressure to him. So, yeah, important there as well. And that is honestly bread and butter for Miro. It's what he does all the time. It's what you guys, I know when I spoke to you in China, you figured out about Miro especially and how to actually respond to that. What was the secret to dealing with that, I guess? A different team, of course, but definitely you had to deal with Miro in that way.
Well, this is something that Miro does all the time, and he uses his sleep, and his sleep is essentially on cooldown all the time, and that's when you want to strike. You want to strike right after his leap, so if he leaps and is not in a position to harm you that much, I mean, that's your go call, because then he can't assist his teammates. So you want to take that fight when Miro is in a position and he can't really use that leap to his advantage.
Yeah, and speaking of Miro as well, is another example, I guess, of what Miro has brought to this game. I do have a bit of a replay. It's a very brief, I guess, example for you guys as well. Now, this is not necessarily bait. Miro sits in this position. Once the Chinese Taipei team step in front of him, he's going to charge. He ideally wants to charge. He wants to charge straight through. It does two things. First of all, he isolates a team from the fight. He takes them back to his teammates. He also gets them back to safety. So we can roll the clip. I mean, we already saw what happened here. But the problem is that behind Miro, there's an access point from the spawn of the attackers. Now, you should expect generally there to be someone behind you, right?
God.
So this is all Miro sees. He gets sort of taken down here as well. Now, the problem here, and this is not the first time that Chinese Taipei made this error, they didn't capitalize off this pick-off. They got rid of the Reinhardt. You can go forward now. You can get damage. You can step up. They didn't do that. Miro came back and they held for a little bit longer. And then the next time, Johnny, you were getting a bit frustrated by this one as well. They pushed in and someone hit a sleep dart on towards Esker. The McCree is sleeping and still Chinese Taipei a little bit undecided about coming forward.
You need to play this hard engage versus, especially the poke composition that South Korea is playing when they're playing with a Torben and a Symmetra. There's just so much hitting you in your direction. You need to be quick here. You need to be decisive, and you speed in and just take the fight early, so you haven't taken all that poke damage from South Korea.
Yeah, that's that extra intimidation factor from South Korea. You really want to think about things. You want to feel prepared, and by the time you feel prepared, you might have missed your opportunity. So, unfortunately, Chinese Taipei not able to make as big a dent in South Korea as we were hoping. But South Korea, man, they just look phenomenal in this game. Was there anything else that stood out to you guys that you want to highlight?
Well, there was a couple of the styly moves. I think we saw Zumba doing effectively what's known as the rocket jump way back in another game.
I think we have a replay of that, actually.
Yeah, so it was fantastic. Just did a little hop and jump. But obviously, throughout the game, there's so much absolutely stylistic thing. Obviously, watching Danny. Danny was fantastic, by the way, for Chinese Taipei. Yeah. Zumba did well. Zumba showed actually he can play a number of champions throughout this game. He jumped across so many heroes. But of course, you know, Arhan, well, you know, when you get a boosted Bastion, what do you expect? But they actually took this point this time.
There was some going on behind him up there. That was an incredible play. Also disrupting the Zarya and the Elna.
Yeah, I mean, like, you're right. And there were some plays as well. I mean, this is just BM from Ru Jihong as well. He has a super low sensitivity, by the way. His arm is like a boom gate getting across that mouse pad. But also, you know, Monty Doa sort of did raise a question about Zonda's hero pool a little bit more. We saw him play, you know, Tracer, Roadhog, Reaper, Winston. We saw him play quite a few different heroes and do that fairly well. So I think, yep, Zonda's not an issue for this team. And it's good to see him be able to spread his influence over so many heroes.
I'm hoping they get the play from Zumba on Zarya. He does a little hop and then goes straight to a 4-man Graviton Surge. It was so nice. Hops over the wall with the
This is not too shabby either. It's almost like Shadowburn. Arhan with the Genji show.
Yeah, we know he's good at that as well. I mean, his Arhan is quite well known over in Korea. Sorry, his Genji is quite well known over in Korea as well. It definitely helped get AF Blue out of trouble a couple times in China at APAC.
Here we go.
Oh, here we go. Oh!
Get done.
Just casually goes into a 4-man Graviton Surge.
He almost alley-ooped to himself.
Yes.
Yeah, so really nice there, obviously, and we were watching from a bird's eye view at the time. We didn't quite know what the plan was, but that sets Esker up there as well, just to cut a swath through Chinese Taipei there as well. So at the end of the day, the Korean squad definitely has the style, but also the execution to back it up. Right? There can be no question that these guys have gelled better than any other team here.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to watch them, and we'll be